Getting started with Excel. Formulas in Excel. In this video, we will cover how to enter and work with formulas in Excel. How to enter a formula and types of cell references. A formula is an expression which performs calculations based on values in your worksheet. To enter a formula, we start by typing the equal sign, followed by the calculations that we need to perform. Suppose we want to multiply the values that exist in cells A1 and B1. In an empty cell, we enter equals A1 times B1. Now, this new cell will calculate this product even if the values in cells A1 and B1 change. Here, A1 and B1 are called cell references. There are two types of cell references, relative and absolute. Suppose that we copy our formula to another cell. Note here that when we copied the formula, the cell references also changed. This is because A1 and B1 in our formula are relative references. They shift relative to the copied formula's cell location. Sometimes this is exactly what we want. For example, suppose that we have a list of numbers in columns A and B, and we want column C to represent the sums. We can type the formula for the sum in the first cell in column C, and then copy this formula down the entire list. There are instances, however, when we want a cell reference to remain constant. That is, we don't want it to shift when the formula is copied. For example, suppose we want to multiply each value in column B by a value in cell A1. Here, we want A1 to be an absolute reference. It won't shift when copying formulas involving it. To create an absolute reference, we enter $ symbols before A and 1. Now, in column C, when I copy the formula down, it changes the relative cell references in column B, but it does not change the absolute cell reference to A1. Order of operations. When you enter a formula, Excel will use the standard order of operations: parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, calculated from left to right. Be careful when entering formulas, and remember that parentheses can change the order in which the calculations are performed. For example, in the formula A2 plus C2 times D2, the multiplication operation is performed first. However, in the formula parentheses A2 plus C2 close parentheses times D2, Excel will first perform the addition and then multiply that sum by the value in D2. Built-in functions. Excel has many built-in functions available. Some common ones are sum, which adds values together, average, which calculates a mean, count, which counts the number of cells containing numeric data, and min and max, which determine minimum and maximum values. Let's apply the sum formula. Here we type the formula equals sum 5, 2, 3. When we press enter, we get the sum, which is 10. Suppose that we have a list of values in cells B1 through B12. Let's calculate the sum and average of these values. In an empty cell, we can type equals sum B1 colon B12. Here, B1 colon B12 is a cell range. Like cell references, cell ranges can either be relative or absolute. Now, let's calculate the average. In another empty cell, we type equals average. This time, instead of typing the cell range, I select the cell range using the mouse. Suppose now that I had another set of values in column C, and I wanted to calculate the sum and average of these. I could retype the formulas, but since the values in column C cover a similar cell range as those in column B, I can just copy the formulas that I've already created. This works because the cell ranges here are relative references. Formulas can be nested. That is, one formula can be used inside of another. For example, Suppose that we wanted to take the average of the minimum and maximum values of the numbers in column B. This is a quantity known as the mid-range. We use the formula equals average, open parentheses, minimum from B1 to B12, comma, maximum from B1 to B12, and be sure to close out the parentheses. Here, the min and max commands determine, well, the minimum and maximum. Then the average formula averages these together. The suite of formulas available in Excel is vast. You can search for a specific formula by selecting the Insert Function icon and entering appropriate search terms. For example, suppose that we wanted to find a formula that will generate a random number between 1 and 100. If we enter the search term random, we see that there are several possible formulas that might apply. Clicking on each provides a short description of the formula's function. Cell range names and formulas. One useful feature of Excel is the ability to name a cell range. This can be helpful, particularly if you have a large array of data. Consider this data set that is comprised of information about Airbnb listings. I'll select the cell range corresponding to nightly prices. Then I'll click into the name box and name this range N price. Now, anytime that I use a formula, I can simply type N price instead of this cell range. Let's give it a try. We can find the average nightly price. In an empty cell, type equals average, and then type N price as the function's input. We find the average nightly price to be $149.14. Let's compute the minimum and maximum nightly prices using the same approach. Formula errors. When we enter a formula, it can sometimes lead to errors. Some common errors that you may see are the division by zero error, which occurs when you're trying to divide by zero, the name error, which occurs when Excel doesn't recognize the text in a formula, and the reference error, which occurs when an invalid cell reference is used in a formula. Understanding what these errors mean can help you troubleshoot what may be wrong with your formulas when you are using them in your worksheet.